When the CEO is under 30, the average work from home rate is 1.4 days per week, compared with 1.1 days when the CEO is 60 or older. That figure comes from a National Bureau of Economic Research study tracking monthly surveys of around 8,000 US workers throughout 2025. Hey, if we haven't met, I'm Alex Wilson Campbell's AI twin. Alex is the creator and host of the Remote Work Life podcast, where we spotlight the remote companies and location-independent founders and leaders shaping the future of business and work. Alex personally researches, writes, and edits every episode you hear here. And I'm his AI voice, so you don't miss the updates, even if you can't get to the studio. This episode looks at new research from early 2026 that suggests remote work is not retreating, but rebalancing. The picture becomes clearer when you line up the studies side by side. Throughout 2025, headlines were dominated by return to office mandates from companies like Amazon and JP Morgan. The narrative was simple: offices were back and remote work was under pressure. But the NBER study, published in February 2026 and based on monthly surveys of approximately 8,000 US workers across 2025, shows something more structural. Employees at companies founded after 2015 work from home nearly twice as often as those at firms started before 1990. That difference is not about slogans or short-term policy shifts. It reflects when the company was built and who is now leading it. CEO age shows a similar pattern. When the chief executive is under 30, the average work from home rate sits at 1.4 days per week. When the CEO is 60 or older, that figure drops to 1.1 days. The gap is not dramatic on a single week view, but across an organization over months and years, it adds up to a different operating model. The researchers describe this as a structural shift rather than an ideological one. As boomer and older Gen X executives retire, and as some long-established firms shrink or fold, more workers move into organizations founded in the last decade. Those firms were often built with cloud tools, distributed teams, and flexible policies from day one. Younger leaders, many of whom began their careers during or after the pandemic period, tend to measure output by delivery and results rather than time spent in a specific building. That detail isn't specified beyond the generational framing, but the pattern in the data is clear. Alongside this academic research, market data tells a similar story. Forbes reported in March 2026 that FlexJobs data shows a 22% spike in remote hiring over the past 6 months, particularly in freelance and contract roles. That is not a marginal increase. It suggests renewed demand, especially for flexible talent models. FlexJobs also recorded a 3% increase in fully remote jobs in Q4 2025. After a year of high-profile office mandates, a late-year rise in fully remote listings points to stabilization rather than collapse. If remote work were in steep decline, that figure would likely be moving in the opposite direction. One of the more striking breakdowns in the FlexJobs analysis is seniority. 67% of remote job postings are now for experienced or senior roles. Just 6% are for entry-level positions. That changes the conversation. Remote work, at least in this phase, is skewing towards experienced operators rather than first-time entrants. Day to day, that means distributed collaboration is increasingly handled by people who already understand their craft and can work with a high degree of autonomy. 2/3 of workers say they would not give up remote or hybrid work even for a 15% pay raise. That is a direct trade-off between flexibility and salary. In operational terms, it signals that flexibility has moved from perk to baseline expectation for a large share of the workforce. The 2026 Remote Work Wellbeing Survey from Co-working Cafe adds another dimension. 69% of remote workers report improved work-life balance from their setup. Improved balance is not the same as universal satisfaction, and the survey does not claim that every remote arrangement works perfectly. But the majority reporting better balance suggests that, for many, the model is functioning as intended. there is also a parallel trend in freelancing. Forbes reports that 2026 is shaping up as a breakout year for independent work. Statista estimates that by 2027, around 86.5 million Americans will be freelancing, representing over 50% of the total workforce. Among CEOs, 48% plan to increase freelancer hiring, and 29% of executives say freelancers are now vital to their operations. Those figures point to a labour market where flexibility is embedded not only in location, but in contract structure. Taken together, these data points suggest that the return to office cycle may be more visible than the underlying shift. Office mandates generate headlines because they are clear policy announcements. Structural change happens more quietly. It shows up in founder age, company formation dates, hiring patterns, and workforce preferences. For remote knowledge workers, the operational reality looks mixed but resilient. Senior roles remain heavily represented in remote listings. Contract and freelance pathways are expanding. Younger-led firms are maintaining higher work-from-home averages. That does not mean every company is remote first, and it does not mean mandates have disappeared. It means the center of gravity may be moving gradually, even if the news cycle focuses on short-term reversals. When someone says remote work is fading, the response is no longer anecdotal. The NBER study provides longitudinal survey data across 2025. FlexJobs offers hiring trend analysis. Worker preference surveys show willingness to trade salary for flexibility. None of these on their own settle the debate. Together, they outline a labour market that is adjusting rather than retreating. That's it for today on the Remote Work Life podcast. Before you head off alongside the podcast, Alex is building a small beta platform that pulls together senior level, growth focused remote roles directly from employers' websites, not job boards. It's designed for experienced operators in sales, marketing, strategy, and finance. If you want early access as a founding member, you'll find the link in the show notes or via Alex's LinkedIn profile. You'll also get bonus content featuring founders, leaders, and CEOs from location independent and remote businesses.